Brothers and sisters, and ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. We have something that's not on the agenda. And very near to when the registration was closing, Brother Yaser Alhindi sent his paper in. Dr. Kabir approved it. And he's a student at Arizona. And I said, well, there's no room. Are you willing to be on standby? Because as we were doing NACIF, as you know, we won't mention it, but unhappy things were going on in the press for people coming in, some people, and we were very worried about people not getting in. So Brother Yaser Alhindi agreed to be a standby, and Dr. Ansari is not going to do his presentation. So I'm going to read Brother Yaser Alhindi, and I really want you to give him a warm welcome, because I think that shows commitment and tenacity. And it's, you know, there was like, okay, I will come at my own expense, and maybe I'll present, and maybe I won't. Did you flip? You're good? Okay. So I've lost my glasses. I have no idea where I left them. Thank you. I can't read without them. Give me one moment. So, he is Brother Yaser Alhindi, and I'll let him say his middle name because I couldn't possibly, is a PhD candidate in innovation in global development at Arizona State University School for the Future of Innovation in Society, with an expected graduation in 2026. He holds a Master's of Science in Social Entrepreneurship from the University of Southern California, and a Bachelor of Science in Earth Sciences from King Fahd University of Petroleum and Minerals. His research focuses on participatory development models, indigenous sustainability, one of my favorite, we really need to care about indigenous people, and the integration of Islamic principles into contemporary development practices. He has presented at international conferences, including the Society for Social Studies of Science Conference and the International Islamic Economics and Financial Conference for Sustainable Development. Yaser's professional experience includes roles in social innovation, consulting, sustainability research, and youth development programs. So I think it's really fitting that we have someone who's up and coming be the last speaker. And so please welcome Brother Yaser Alhindi, and thank you so much for your dedication and patience.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله محمد بن عبد الله وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. Good day, everyone. At the very end of the conference, I am going to make it very light presentation. I will focus on the storytelling side of the presentation. And very quickly, my name is Yaser Alhindi. I'm from Mecca, and currently I'm doing a PhD program called Innovation and Global Development. And I am at the research and the dissertation part of it. Today I'm sharing part of it, part of where I am at. So when Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam arrived to Medina, the first migration, the Hijrah, around 1500 years ago, swiftly he did very quick actions, and we need to look into those actions. There is a thought behind all of these actions and thinking systems behind them. One of them is the very first waqf, which is Quba Mosque. some of the attendees and speakers here mentioned Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anh, waqf, which is very true as for public services, but the very first waqf officially was Quba Mosque. And after that, directly, there was the very first constitution for the Islamic State, Mithaq al-Medina. The emphasis on Mithaq al-Medina was to regulate internal and external relationships. Al-Aws al-Khazraj, the tribes, Arab tribes in Medina, as well the Jews, and how these details, organization, rights, and obligations are affecting the new state, as well the new ummah, which was very important. So all of these, when we trace these actions and the thinking systems behind them, with others like the Moha and other swift actions took place in Medina directly after Hijrah, we will reach. There was another slide, but anyways, so the timeline of awqaf in general across Islamic history has gone through ups and downs. And then there was 1826 in the Ottoman Sultanate, where there was a consolidation and centralization of all awqaf under one entity. So there was a big shift into governance of awqaf. I looked into Ibn Khaldun contribution about society and state building and the other references, all the way to the current work that is talking about society building and Islamic epistemology behind society building. So one of these is this, the reference I shared with Dr. Khan. I found in Al-Masiri 2006, epistemological bias in physical and Islamic science, a very deep and profound work that is focused mainly on 5 principles. When I looked into the major work, which is around 200 pages, published scholarly papers. The 5 main elements were as following. It's the major emphasis will be always, if we are talking about Islamic epistemology, it's the alignment of higher epistemological outlook of universe, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Islam, with very details, layers, until we reach to everydayness, what we are doing in everyday, consuming, production, and so on. So when we connect all the way, all these layers to what we are doing every day, there will be a better alignment. The second one would be taking initiatives. There is always the idea of precaution, and you don't wait until problems happen. There is a risk mitigation idea of taking initiative. As well as the third one would be upskilling and building skills of the community. And the fourth element and principle I found, the integration of duality thinking. It's not either or, it's always both together. We are thinking, or Islamic epistemology is assuming both thinking together. Aql, reason, and then heart, and body and soul. We have dunya and akhirah, living nowadays and hereafter. It's not I'm doing it for right now and then I will think later on. We are doing it together, both together. So the integration part and duality thinking was interesting part. The third one is connecting. There is always a connection of the thinking is always rooted in authentic legacy. Sister Nivara yesterday mentioned element of that, like barakah and so many examples. There is always a connection to authentic legacy. I found also in other references, like here, it's Bartlett and Marshall, 2012, 2I indigenous. So there is this way of looking at indigenous knowledge in different cultures, as well as looking at cutting edge and innovation and the idea of integrating them together. What are the possibilities out of this integration? So when I put all of these together, I may say that I'm still testing what could be a rushd framework. Rushd in Arabic, it's the most and proper way to do things. الطريق الأصح. So I'm putting it in also in a way that captures this knowledge systems. There was in the 16th century فخر الدين شمس الدين الخفري, an astronomical Muslim who contributed through his work to what happened later on as Copernicus discoveries and what we are learning today in the space. It's all because of what happened at a point where so many Orientalist work said there was no contribution from Muslim world at that stage in the 16th century. But there was a work like George Saliba 2015 proved that there are contributions. One of them is Shamsuddin al-Fakhri. So these are the representation of celestial bodies are interacting in an interesting mechanism. I borrowed that as well for Rushd framework. And so all of that for what? So I'm trying to answer the big overarching question. Do we have, at this moment, an up-to-date development model that address the challenges of the 21st century? And through sub-questions, when I looked into different models and different application of Islamic epistemology, in actual, I found definitely waqf is coming so many times for me. So that's why I found waqf is a microcosm of what I am trying to achieve, the bigger picture, and waqf is coming and manifested. So this was, I presented in another conference, but what about people? How the experience of society is telling this story. So I have to look for a focused scope. I focused into Gulf at the beginning, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia. I was very ambitious trying to do a comparison with the other countries, maybe Malaysia and Indonesia, but then the research design was been advised to focus into a very certain community, which is Medina, and how the people of Medina co-construct development model. So I went to Medina. I did interviews and then participatory workshops. There was a use of both, as I mentioned, the duality thinking here, like we are using in brainstorming AI. At the same time, I'm providing them with waraq al-burdi or papyrus. This is one of the decolonizing methodology, Linda Tahawi, writing, expressing in a way that is authentic to your culture. So here, the people of Medina, they expressed themselves in different ways. Some of them, they wrote poems. Some of them, they had like a mind map, so on and so forth. One of the ladies, she presented a poem that captured brilliantly in a very, like Japanese haiku poems, in a very short sentences. She captured the long history of waqf, the complexity, the challenges, and the possibilities as well of al-Medina. She said, and then I will translate: مهد وعهد من قبل ومن بعد على أطهر أرض من شتلة ورد إلى تشييد سد منا إلى كل فرد في طيبة سنوقف قبل أن يداهمنا الفقد وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد من قبل ومن بعد. So, translation: a cardinal and a covenant before and after, on the pursuit land and the purest land, from a rose seeding to the construction of a dam, from us to every individual in Taiba. We will establish waqfs before loss overtakes us. And may Allah prayers and peace be upon our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family, and his companions and followers before and after. This was an example, and then I visited a couple of waqfs as well there. For the sake of time, I'm sharing just one story of what's happening right now. That doesn't mean that they don't have challenges. There are a lot of challenges there, but there are brilliant attempts, and the innovation is taking place right now. This is a focus of how waqf can be sustainable through a palm tree. So this is a farm waqf focusing on palm tree, waqf al-nakhil. Maybe some of you have seen that because it's famous in YouTube. They brought a celebrity YouTube, talked about it. Let's look into the story of the palm waqf. The span, the age span of a palm is around 100 years. So 3 to 4 years from seeding, the fruition will start. And then after the start of the fruition, the different types of dates, ajwa and so on, will come back, will get into to the market. These dates are going to be sold, and then from the return of those dates and the return from them and the investment will be directly go to the orphans. That's why it's waqf al-nakhil. And the programs of the orphan, it's not about just having money. It's a complete 360 programs of taking care of them from early stages, well-being, so on, all the way to be graduate from universities. There are so many success stories. When I visited the farms, one of the 11 farms around Medina, I was surprised to see the details of how they are doing it in ihsan, in a proper way, where they are taking care of even the workers. There are playgrounds for the workers when they take rest and breaks and so on. So this was an eye-opening of about the process, how the process in general is important. So specializing in farm waqf, complete a cycle of sustainability and opening the space of community to contribute. Where this is an example of a palm where the contributor will see his or her name there and can, at some point, they are implementing that very soon, they can follow up on their specific palm tree, where it is at, the year, the growth, the contribution to the overall ecosystem. Okay, so what? All of these stories. Here, when I looked at from the Rushd framework, with the stories I had from the participants in the workshop, participatory workshop, and as well as the interviews, the three main principles were there in Rushd resurfaced again. So it was really interesting to see the people of Medina. They are talking about taking initiatives and mitigating risk ahead of time. They are talking about upskilling and gaining. There were a bunch of undergraduate students in a specific field, architecture, where they are going into some low advantaged neighborhood, and they are rebuilding their houses, and they are doing this under a new umbrellas of awqaf, new awqaf. They are coming up with new structure and governance of awqaf. So it was interesting to see this and to witness that. And the third one is connecting knowledge production to authentic knowledge system, as we see. And beside that, so this is the framework indication to where I am at right now. But what about if I'm looking to the data directly without any filter? What I'm going to see, which is, I just shared with Dr. Shakil, I'm not doing, it's a big claim to say it's a grounded theory, but I'm doing something called abduction approach. Induction, deduction, it's in between. There are details into that approach based on the reference here. But the idea is I'm still considering looking into the participant voices directly. With people of Medina, through their stories, they shared a lot about how they are innovating, how they are coming up with this idea, how they are implemented, what are the resistance for this innovation, the application for this innovation, so on and so forth. So many of people of Medina, they talked about the Medina very specific waqf culture. They said it's for Medina and Mecca, but there are specifications for them when they are still remembering the surah, which is coming from Ottoman Sultanate, from Istanbul to Damascus, all the way to Medina, and then they're distributing in a certain way. Still, it's there in the memory. The social memory, they are having it differently, I would say, then. So there are specifications into different communities and different waqf communities. Then they touched into the Waqf national strategy and how we are looking into some of what Brother Muhammad talked about, the rapid development into governance, as well the challenges are taking place with that. And so other components. So based on this new emerging of data, I realized, it's not only the two circles I brought at the beginning of Rushd. It could be multiple others. The complexity is really beyond what I am looking. So there will be always a tension between what state is trying to do in terms of governance, accountability, control, cutting edge, scaling up, and what the community is trying also to do at the other side, focusing on the scope, authenticity, autonomy, flexibility, and coming up with innovation. So I found that this tension will always be there. There will always be the two sides. Not only that, there will be always the tension between future and what I just talked about, the social memory, the past, and the tradition, and so on. And another tension that is going to be created from both of the previous tensions, which is creating spaces and also mitigating risks. So how to deal with these tensions? The idea is not to go to one side and another. The idea where I am at right now until this moment, and I'm still refining this, is going to be, are we doing it less governance and more agency? Are we doing it more memory and authenticity, and less maybe less some aspect related to, let's say, artificial intelligence and so on? And so it has to be not a one size fits all. It could be going across the spectrum until there will be collectively a reach for a most suitable balance. This is the idea where Rushd framework is trying to reach to a certain and suitable balance by the deliberate collaboration between stakeholders of a certain community. What will be the 5 takeaways for guiding the Rushd needle? It would be 1, a firm connecting to roots. 2, justice-oriented, always. 3, focus on the process. 4, the complex thinking approach. And 5th, the continuous updates from stakeholders. It's a big matter for the process. Thank you so much for listening, and I'm looking forward to listen to your questions.